Okay, good morning, everybody. Our topic today is we're going to talk about aging and all issues about being middle-aged and having what that means when you have older parents and just all of that good stuff. We actually did this topic last year and we liked it. It was a good topic, so we thought we'd return. I've got to admit, Yvonne, I'm feeling, I mean, I obviously am a year older than last year. I'm feeling so like I'm feeling very worn down right now, and just like, wow, I am feeling every one of my 48 years. I am just like, oof, tired. So I'm hoping that you have some good advice right now.
It was funny because I was just watching the video from last year just to like remind myself like what we talked about, and we were so young and hopeful. And it was actually on your 47th birthday that we did that last year. So and we're working under the assumption, I mean, there's parents here that are young. I see some parents come in to have a meeting with me and I'm like, I could probably be your mom. So I know parents come from in their 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s. I have parents. And so the one thing that binds us, that has us all connected, is that we are parents of teenagers. And we're all going through the same process. We're all headed in the same direction. We're all aging, and how we go about that, I think is really, really important. So the first question I want to pose to all of us, and feel free to speak out, feel free to put it in the chat, but one of the things I wanted to know, just generally speaking, what's been the best part about getting older? You know, for me, I feel like I'm so much more confident with myself as I age. I always say, like, if I was like had the figure in my 20s and the confidence in my 40s, it would be amazing. I'm like, where was all this confidence when I was like young? And, and I think for me, it's just like being secure with who I am, knowing what I want, knowing how to ask for it, like all those things that I was so afraid of in my 20s. I think for me, that's been the best part, just like kind of collecting wisdom. For me, that's been the best part of aging for me.
The senior menu at IHOP. Hilarious.
That's fantastic. I can't wait. That means you also get the Ross discount on Tuesdays. I love it.
And then also Mario says, getting wiser is the best part of getting older. I wish I knew at 15 what I know at 50. LOL. I totally agree. I think, just like, yeah, I'm just smarter about life. I know what I like and what I don't like. I know what makes me happy and what doesn't make me happy. And I'm not afraid to stand up for myself. And when I don't want to do something, I just don't do it. Like, I have no problem with saying no. Like, I was supposed to spend Sunday evening with you, Yvonne, at a trivia night, and I was too tired to go. And I was like, I'm not going to go. I don't care. I'm not going to go.
Totally. I do the same thing. I think that is something that as you age, I think my 20s were filled with so many obligations. And I've about this before, but I think for me, COVID and the restrictions surrounding COVID was very like life-changing for me, because I realized how content I was doing nothing sometimes, and how our time is so precious that I want to make sure I'm focusing on things that I actually want to do. And yeah, I can say no. Before I was like always so worried about hurting people's feelings, but it's like, I'm tired. I'm older. I'm tired. I need to be in bed by 9:30. So yes, so that's those are the good parts of aging. And so I think culturally, aging is something that people fear. Mario says, setting boundaries, knowing it's okay to say no, self-care, very key to being healthy. And that's absolutely true. And people think self-care means like getting manicures and pedicures, but it really means setting those boundaries, saying no, and knowing that we have limits. Like, we only have a certain amount of hours in the day, and we want to use them how we want to use them, and we don't want to be obligated to do that.
Yeah. I had a conversation with somebody just this week that I don't answer email over the weekend. I just don't. I've gotten to the point I don't even look at it. And it's just like a way of self-care for me that I set aside, that I'm like, okay, on the weekend, that's my time. I'm not going to worry about work. I need to have that boundary. And I think the pandemic did help with that, because especially working from home a lot of the time, I had to be very conscious about what was work time and what was personal time, my time. And so I kind of kept that, like, this is not work time.
Yeah. I think about how we model aging to our kids. And so I was reflecting on this last night of like, if my kids are watching me age, like, how am I showing them? Like, is what I'm showing them making them look forward to getting old? Or is what I'm showing them making them fearful of getting old? And I think it might be a little bit of both. I've tried to like really embrace, but my kids see that I come home from work and sometimes I take a nap. Sometimes I'm complaining about aches and pains. Sometimes I'm Googling Botox. Is that a good choice? Like, I mean, really, like all these things. And so I wonder, like, what is it about aging and how have I modeled that to my kids? Like, should they be worried? I've had kids say before, like, I don't want to be an adult ever because my mom is miserable all the time. And that's what I think being an adult means, is that you're miserable. You have bills, you have all these things. And so that comes from like how we modeled adulthood. Everything's a chore, everything's a drag, everything's all these things. And I know that's not necessarily true, but what are we showing our kids? And again, for me, it's like, I think my kids know that there's things that come with aging. There's kind of this new feeling in my house of like, oh my gosh, we're getting older. We need to like get it together and like go for walks every night and do all these things. So for everyone else, like, what do you think you're showing your kiddos regarding aging? Do you think it's a positive model? Do you think they would be excited to get old based on how they're watching you? What's everyone's thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Like, because obviously being an adult, we have a lot of responsibilities, and that is a lot of our lives is responsibility. And you do have to pay the bills, you do have to go to work, you do have to take care of this and take care of that. Like, that's a lot of what we do. But if that's the only thing we ever talk about, and we only like that our kids see, yeah, it doesn't actually sound very fun. And so I think it's important to model that, you still hang out with friends, you still have a good time, you take care of yourself. Like you were just saying, like, as we get, I think, when you get to middle age, it's like you do have this realization, like, oh wow, my body like is not rebounding the way it did in my 20s. And that extra 5 pounds is really hard to get rid of, or 10 pounds, 20 pounds, really hard to get rid of. And that, you have to prioritize your health, because if you don't prioritize your health now, I look at my parents, especially my mom, who has all of these health problems and in the past several months has been in and out of the hospital. And I look at like, it's, she's in her 70s, but that's relatively, it's not old. Like, people are living a lot longer now, but she has a lot of health problems because she's had a life long where she's been obese her whole life and has never really taken care of herself. And it's catching up. Like, that's what's happening. And I like, it's inspired me. Like, I don't want that to happen to me. Like, that I need to take care of myself.
Yeah, and getting old isn't all that bad. Like Mario was saying, is like if they see us being healthy and staying active and fit and financially stable, it gives them comfort that they too can get older and be okay. I wish high school would teach our kids about finances, how to manage their money, learn about credit card debt. We've talked a lot about this in regards to like what our job is as far as preparing kids to be adults. And, as we've stated before, like Ginny and I both have college age kid now, and like, what were the things that we didn't teach them that they had to learn this year on their own? And there was a list of them, right? There's a lot of things. Finances are, I just had a conversation with my son the other day about what interest rates on your credit card mean and why 36% on a credit card is not a good thing. Those kind of things. So you're right. Yeah, they definitely need to know those just basic finances. They get so hyper focused on just like math and science. It's like these practical things that they need to know. It's like all part of getting older and aging. I'm going to talk a little bit about like The term is Jurassicophobia, the fear of aging. I found that out yesterday. I did not know that. And why are we so afraid? And so this is kind of just like this list of like, why are we so afraid of aging and what can we do about it? And this one actually kind of struck me. The first one is fear of becoming undesirable. And that doesn't just mean like being like attractive, but it means that like some people are annoyed by older people. Some people are frustrated by just their like presence. Some people are, very connected to their like vanity and their outwardness. And like, what does that feel like? And the one that always comes up for me is like, I don't know, you're in your 20s and everyone holds the door open for you. Right. And then you start to get older and like, your body, like you said, it doesn't like bounce back the same. And so when we're young, we're very in tune and we're very connected to like how we look on the outside. And that's just like where a lot of time we find our worth. And so I think one of the parts of aging is that you're kind of losing that worth, if you will. And that can be really, really difficult. So when it comes to physical stuff, and it's not just like how we look on the outside, but it's like how we move. I just signed up for staff versus student volleyball. And I've been thinking about this and I'm like, in my head, I'm a 16-year-old volleyball player. In reality, I am a 43-year-old woman that's not in the greatest shape. So there's this huge discrepancy between what I'm thinking and what I'm actually doing. And there's probably gonna be an EMT here on campus, I'm not gonna lie. And it's like, you don't feel it. It just happens so fast, but you have to like really know your abilities. Like it changes, right? Like sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm like, why does my neck hurt for no reason? Like, where did this come from and when did this start? And so, I'm sure my kids see me like, oh gosh, like, like how many of you feel that disconnect of like where you are in your brain versus like where you are physically? And this doesn't mean you have to be like 60s, 70s. This could be even in your 30s, your body changes, your abilities change, your stamina is different. So how many of you feel that disconnect of like what I feel about myself in my head versus like what the reality is?
Oh, constantly. Oh, constantly. It's funny. I have like, I have a Peloton and I've talked about that before, but Peloton just came out with this like new like movement tracker thing called the Guide. And my husband bought it for me for my birthday. And so it like, you see yourself on the screen. Oh. And so my image before of like what I looked like when I was lifting weights versus reality of what I look like lifting weights, I was like, oh.
Ooh, I don't know if I like that new feature.
My posture a lot better, I'll tell you that. Like,
okay, that's awesome. But it's like, if you think about like what our society, when we think of old people, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever been like home during the day and you're watching TV and like whatever the commercials are about, they're always about things that have to do with aging. Prunes, fiber, aches and pains, arthritis, sexual dysfunction, like all these like very like negative things. It's like, that's what we associate aging with. And it's a legitimate fear, right? We're afraid of getting old. We're afraid of pain and suffering and getting sick and not being able-bodied to do like a lot of things. But what's being fed to us is like that it's a bad thing. Like when everyone can just like pause and think about like, what are the first couple of words that come to your mind when you hear the term aging? Throw them in the chat if you have them. First words that come to your head, like aging.
Wrinkles.
Wrinkles. I think of like joints, like joint pain. Mm-hmm. I think of like retirement. I think of early bird specials. I think of wrinkles and wrinkle cream and, vision issues, just like medical conditions. When I think of aging, I'm never thinking like the positive words like freedom. That's like the only one I can come up with right now. Like, so
wisdom, like we talked in the beginning about like what we like about being older and that we are more self-assured and we know more things now. But like, that's not, I know when I think of aging, I don't naturally think of that
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm smarter.
Yeah.
But I know so much more now.
No, totally. But I'm like more concerned with like my hair turning gray than how much knowledge I have. Like that's kind of the priority in my mind, I think, when I think of like aging. I had a student a couple years ago, and he was very into skincare. And he spent one of his evenings, he wrote me this whole skincare plan, and the top of it said aging skin plan. And I'm like, that's me. Jay says, I've never thought about it. I guess I'm too young to be thinking about getting old. No, I love it. And Mario,
The seed though, Jay, you're going to be obsessed with it.
oh, totally. Mario says aging inactive. Ooh, dependent on others. That's huge. We'll talk a little bit about our parents being more dependent. Limited income, fixed income. That's big.
Yeah, that is big.
Like,
and I don't know, it's happened in the past 10, 15 years, the shift from my parents still paying for stuff, like taking us out to dinner and like that sort of thing, to now my husband and I do that, where like we pay for them. And it's been this shift of like, where I felt like, you know, even in my 20s and early 30s, like they were still kind of caregivers of me. And like, it's definitely like that role has shifted. I am now the caregiver of them. And it's exhausting.
that's, you know, one of the things I'm going to talk about is that role reversal. So our age group, whether you're in your 30s or your 60s, basically means that we're sandwiched between having teenagers and having aging parents. And so we're almost parenting both for a time. Like right now, I feel like I'm in the role of just starting to have that role reversal with my parents. I'm more worried about them. I'm asking them questions about their health. I pay for the things. I'm the one helping more than, you know, like those kind of things are changing. And it's kind of sad actually, because it's like you kind of lose that. It's this weird shift of like, I don't know if anybody's experienced this yet, but it's this weird shift. Like my dad's been having some issues with like his memory lately. And I just, you know, he's always been my steady rock. I can always count on my dad to like drive down and help us out with whatever. And it's kind of gotten to the point now where I don't want to ask, because I don't want him to put himself out or put himself at risk by driving if he's having memory, like all these different things. And it's like almost this weird process of like grieving the change that's happening between you and your parents. Like my parents are always like, I'm always asking them to help with the kids, all these things. And now it's like, I feel like a little bit parentified. Like I'm, you know, with my in-laws, with my parents, it's like, I feel responsible to make sure that they're going to their appointments and doing all these things. And it's this weird, like, almost this weird, like, who's taking care of me? Oh shoot, I am. It's strange. It's strange. And it's, you know, again, like being sandwiched between having teenagers. So we're really like still parenting them. And then on this end, there's this transition. And, you know, I talked about it a lot with like empty nest syndrome. And, you know, my son's 19, he lives on campus now at school. And when he moved and started becoming very independent, I felt like I lost myself a little bit. Like I felt like I was kind of rendered useless. And I started having this panicky feeling about like the last 19 years of my life have been completely intertwined with my kids, and my value has come from how I parent them and all these things. And, you know, it's like, what happens after that? You know, oh, poor Judy. Yeah, what happens after that when we're just like so hyper focused on our kids, and then all of a sudden they start to grow up, right? What do? We just feel a little bit lost. I don't know if any of you have older children yet, but it's just like, again, this weird transition of like, oh my gosh, they don't need me anymore. And I think one of the things about aging is that we really want to have a plan. Are you okay, Ginny? Have a plan when we're aging. I have this worry of like, so my youngest one just turned 14 this week. And I'm like, in 4 years, he might be out and move to college, and it's going to be my husband and I. And I'm not sure what we're going to talk about yet, because our last 19 years of our life have been consumed by our children. Right. And so that's like a really scary part about aging, is like, I don't know what to do with myself. It's a little bit weird. I know your son is a little bit young too, but still, it's like we're moving in that direction of like, what am I
Well,
gonna
yeah,
do?
and sorry, I had a tickle in my throat that I could not get rid of, so I
Why?
had to grab something. Yeah, my son is about to he's turning 13 next week. And he's finishing up the 7th grade, so he'll go into the 8th grade next year. And yeah, I'm looking at, oh my gosh, well, he's about, pretty close to starting high school. And then like, I mean, I know those, you guys, parents, are dealing with, your kids are in high school, because I experienced with my daughter and Yvonne with Ethan, your oldest son. Those 4 years of high school go so fast. Like you blink and you're like, oh my gosh, it's over. And so, yeah, I've started thinking about like, wow, what about when it's just Paul and I? Like, that's going to be weird. Especially in like my situation, because, Paul is my second marriage. My daughter is actually his stepdaughter, though she doesn't consider him that. But like, my point is, when we got married, I already had a child. And so he and I, it's never been just the two of us. So it's going to be weird. It's going to be different.
Yeah. And so just like a little cheat sheet for all of you who haven't had kids leave the house yet. I always talk about emptiness and all these feelings. Man, it is so real. And my kid only moved to San Jose State.
That's actually our topic for next week. So don't go into it. Next week, we're talking about if those of you that are parents of seniors, or those of you that, that you will be at some point. So this is good. Yeah. The senioritis struggle versus your struggle of like worries about emptiness. That's what we're talking about next week. It's a very real thing.
It is so real. Mars, it's important for couples to have a date night weekly. Yep. Keep the flame alive. I don't know when my last date night was. In fact, I don't even know the last time I saw my husband was. We kind of like fly by each other every day right now. So that's a good suggestion. I really like that. There was a poll, and it was a survey, and they surveyed 5,000 people between the ages of 35 and 60, which is considered middle age. And one of the questions that they asked was, when you look into the future, what do you worry about the most? And the majority of people said, not living life to the fullest. I don't know about you guys, but I always feel like I have this goal, right? Like when you're young, it's like, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get married, I'm going to have kids, I'm going to get a good job, I'm going to get into my career, I'm going to love that, I'm going to do this. And you, at some point, like I've reached the point where I've kind of covered a lot of the things that I set out to do, right? Like I'm like, I set little goals for myself, like still, like, and we want to like keep growing, but really those major milestones I've done. So then as I'm looking forward, what do I see? And I'm like, I'm death, like I'm moving towards death now. Like, is that where I am? I've like reached this peak, and it's like almost like I'm coming over the hill now, and like literally the saying like over the hill, like that's what I feel like. It's like, okay, I've done all these things and now I'm moving in this direction. Like, how do I feel about the last 20 years of my life? Like, do I feel like I've lived it fully? And one of the things I've noticed is that I'm always looking for the next thing, right? I'm always looking forward to something. I'm always working to get to something. And so I wonder, like, how well have I done just being present in what I'm doing? Like, at what phase in my life do I feel like actually content being where I am? And I feel like it was always like, oh, when the kids get older, it's going to be easier. And then it's like, oh gosh, when the kids move out, it's going to be different. Or when I have, now it's like when I have grandkids, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, how many times have I felt content exactly where I am and just being in the moment? And I don't know that I've truly been able to do that.
I think, I honestly felt like last year when we were home all the time, that was almost a little preview, at least in my mind it was, because like when I imagine getting older, like I imagine like, yeah, just like gardening and like puttering around the house. I feel like I like did an entire year of that. And I liked it. I miss it. It was really nice. I was actually actually this morning, like, because I had planted some tomato plants a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, oh gosh, it's going to be really hot today. I got to water those tomatoes. When am I going to do that? And I'm like, God, I just miss like being at home, that I could like, I didn't have to worry about that. Like right now I'm like, my house is a disaster and I'm just,
Yeah, I kind of miss that, like being stationary and not, I feel like it's always like go, go, go. I'm taking class at night now and I'm just like tired all the time. And it's like, am I truly enjoying what's happening right now? I love that. Tomato planters.
thank you. I'm gonna look that
We're
up.
all gonna be gardening. I hope you all already have a hobby. And one of the things I reflected on a lot, and I'll talk about it next week, it sounds like, but it's like, what would I have done differently? I had this weird moment, and it was like right before Ethan went to college, where I was in my car, like sobbing. And I was like, I wish I would have taken him to the park those few times that he wanted to go. And he's like, he doesn't care at this point. He doesn't even remember that. And I just like totally beat myself up over it. I'm like, man, I just wish I would have been more present. I was either nagging or cleaning or on the phone or just like trying to like get through school or whatever it was. And it's like, man, was I really ever just like grounded and enjoying what was right in front of me? Like you said, it just goes by so fast. And now I have like three big, like all my kids are, I'm now the shortest member of my house and I'm 5'9". So my kids are big. It happens fast. It's really just a big transition for me. But this kind of goes into like my worth and my value over the last 19 years have been my children, how I raise them, what kind of kids they've become. And so that's kind of been what has defined me. And as I'm transitioning into this new phase of my life, it's like, whoa, if I don't have that, what do I have? And that's something that I think I'm still kind of exploring, because then it becomes my career, right? Okay, then I kind of like focus on my career. At some point I'm going to retire, and then what? So it's like I need to really truly like find out what defines me. What do I want my legacy to be? What is my legacy right now? Like if God forbid something happens, like what would my legacy be? Would it be my kids? Would it be my work? Would it be who I am? Like I don't know, and I really want to like feel good about what that means. Like what defines you?
I don't know. I mean, I think I would probably say my career, but you're right. Like when my career is over. But I mean, because I look at like, there's people that are retired administrators that they keep and they go and consult, and like, we always like, those of us that are like in it, we're like, oh, those old people, here they come again, like telling us what to do, like, the old consultants coming in, we're like, okay, but I don't want to be one of those people.
Yeah. Mario says our actions define us. I have this thing where like when I'm working, my saying to myself is always like every single interaction I have with someone will either benefit them or take away from them, right? Like most likely. And so how do I make sure that every interaction I have with someone is something that will be beneficial? And that's easy for me to do at work, but it's not really something I practice when I'm at the grocery store or when I cuss at this lady that hit my car with her door at Starbucks this morning. Those things. It wasn't really like my actions define me. And I like that you said that, because it's the truth. And like I want to make sure that I'm growing old and still like practicing good actions and just being a good person. And I think that truly defines us. But I think I've been so caught up in like my kids, so I think this is a time in our lives where we have to start reflecting on how we behave, who we are, who we inspire, like all those things. I don't know what my legacy is. I don't know what it's going to be. I know what I would want it to be. I talked about waiting for the next thing, the next phase. We talked about switching roles with parents. So this little article here is about what they call it conscious aging, how to accept and enjoy life at every stage. It says, what if you could look at the aging process with joy and expectancy? The concept of conscious aging teaches us to accept ourselves as we age, live with a sense of purpose, and let go of what society deems appropriate for our stage in life. And when you think about your age, has there been anything that you stopped doing because you were felt like you were too old to do it? There's like rules. Like, I don't know if you've heard this before, but like once you're 40, you're not supposed to have long hair.
I went the opposite. I've had short hair my whole life. And then in my 40s, I'm like, I don't hair.
Mario, you're killing me. You are not too, I don't know how old you are, but I don't think you're ever too old to break down. So be
But
careful.
I would say like what I've stopped doing, breakdancing. Well, sure. There's certain things that my body won't do.
I'm like, I'm sorry, but Mario, you need to turn your camera on because I need a visual now. Sorry, breakdancing, it got me.
Sorry, you froze a bit. There you are. I was like, oh gosh.
Yes, hi, Mario. I mean, it could be dangerous. You got to be careful. Our hips get a little bit weak as we get older, but
I can't even sneeze too hard anymore. I'll get pull a muscle or something.
That's true. I played roller derby until I was 40, like literally on my 40th birthday. I think that was a wise choice to stop roller skating at my age because things do hurt, you know. But what kind of things do we not do because we think we're too old? What were you gonna say, Jenny?
I was gonna say, not because I think I'm too old, but I really, like in my 40s, stopped caring about what people think about what I'm wearing or what my hair looks like. I was like, no, I like this for me. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
So
that's very freeing. That's very freeing.
I would say it, like my 40s have been very freeing and like letting go about like image things and what other people, you know, perceptions, and just doing, like, I got a big tattoo in my 40s. Like, I don't care. That's something I wanted. I got my nose pierced when I was in my 40s. Like, I like just certain things that like I've always wanted for me, because I'm just like, I don't care what people think. I like it. I'm gonna do it.
I love that. My mom's like, you know, you're gonna have that tattoo for the rest of your life that I got last year. And I'm like, you know, my life's not that much longer. Like, it's okay. Like, I'm totally okay with it. So conscious aging is countercultural. We have $1 billion anti-aging industry in the US. We herald youth, but really it's okay to get older. So just it's about finding that balance in, you know, what our cultural beliefs are about aging. And I think different cultures think differently about the aging population. Like some cultures I feel are more like catered towards like the respect and taking care of our elders, you know. I always tell my mom, like, I'm gonna take care of you when you get old. And my mom is so stubborn. She's like, just put me in a home, please. Like she like asked, she's been telling me that since I was 20, like, just so you know, I don't want you to take care of me, like all these things. So how do we view aging in a more positive way? And the first one says, practice self-acceptance. Take your power back by making choices that are authentic to you. And I think that's kind of like what you said, like, I don't really care what other people think about the way that I am, the way that I dress. Practicing self-acceptance. There's so many opinions out there, such as you get grays, color your hair. You need to color your hair, but it is ultimately your choice. And just feeling good about yourself. I thought I was the young, this is so weird. I thought I was the young, cool therapist at school. And I shared the story last time we did this. And basically I had a parent call me and tell me that she was so happy that her daughter connected with me and that she thinks it was my age that made her feel comfortable. And so I was like, oh, okay, because I'm young and like hip. And she's like, you know, she really connected with that maternal piece. And sometimes with therapists that are super young, like she feels like they don't really have the experience of, and I'm like, I like literally like stopped listening because I was like, oh my God, I literally thought she was saying that I was like young and cool. And I feel young and cool and not. She like crushed me. But then I had to embrace that like maternal thing. Like I know that feels warm and comfortable for a lot of kids to feel that. But it just shocked me that that's what she was referring to. That it's like, that was shocking to me.
I had that when and then this was like 15 years ago. So even like, you know, but I taught, when I was teaching, I taught Avid, and then one of my Avid kids, you know, oh, Miss Davis, I think of you like my second mom. And I'm like, Mom, not old enough to be your mom. She should be like older sister. Like mom.
I have a couple students who their grandparents are like probably late 40s, and I'm like, oh, guess I'm not as cool as I thought I was. So practicing self-acceptance. This is where we are. This is who I am. I have gray hairs. I sprayed them for y'all this morning. But just practicing accepting who I am. This is where I am, and I've got a lot of scars and wrinkles to prove that I've been through it and that I'm still standing. And I think getting old is an honor. Not a lot of people have that ability to get older, you know, and so the fact that I'm still here makes me very grateful. And so I try to think of it from that perspective of like, I'm happy that I'm still here. Okay, maybe I'm not as like attractive as I was when I was 21, but whatever. The next one is prioritizing learning. We never stop learning, and I think that keeps our brains going, keeps us motivated, keeps us, you know, being challenged. I've shared this, but I'm in school right now at night, and I had no idea how much more difficult it is to focus, process when your brain is getting older. School has always been very easy for me, and I've noticed it's really difficult for me to stay focused. Fun story, last night when I'm in class, it's a Zoom class, and it's 4:30 in the afternoon. It's been probably the most busy month of my entire career. And I'm in my class, and all of a sudden I can hear my professor, who's this older gentleman, saying, Yvonne, are you in here? Are you having trouble accessing your breakout room? I was passed out cold. Luckily, my camera and my microphone were off. And then I turned the camera on real quick and it's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm at work still. Like, I had to lie because I was so embarrassed, but it's I'm still trying to like move forward and learn, but I am finding it difficult just being old and tired. Like I'm tired. If I don't get 8 hours of sleep at night, I'm not like the best person the next day. And that leads us into staying active. Exercise helps keep your mind and body in a peak state. You mentioned your mom, Ginny, and like all the things that kind of catch up with us as we get older, right? And, you know, exercise is going to be huge. It's going to be something that keeps us agile, keeps us moving, keeps us going. The last one I have here is define your own path. You don't have to succumb to what people think life should be like at your age or what people have done in the generation before you. With conscious aging, you become your own pioneer. So what do you envision? What do you think your life is going to look like? And what do you want it to look like? And making sure that that happens. And there's no rules. You don't have to be the old grandma knitting in the corner if you don't want to. Like, find your own path, your own way, and embrace these years that we've been gifted. So that's what I have. I actually have to step out. I know Miss Davis is going to answer some questions just regarding basic end of the year stuff. And I'm sure everybody has questions about COVID and things like that. But thank you so much, everyone, for your time. I actually have to leave because I have school something related. So,
well, thank you. So that is actually the end of our topic about aging today, though if you guys want to keep talking about it, I'll keep talking about that with you. But we do have some extra time, so if you had questions about the end of the year, I know right now we're going through a little third, fourth little COVID surge. It's not quite at the levels, not nearly at the levels that we were in January, but I mean, we are, yeah, our numbers are up, which is unfortunate. And it's one thing I would say about that, you know, masks, as you guys know, are not required right now, but encourage your kids to keep wearing them. I think that wearing the masks are what got us through January and like, you know, pretty okay. And so keep wearing them. I think they do help. That's just my opinion, but I think they do help. So I'm going to stay on. So if you guys have questions, go ahead. But if you need to go about the rest of your day, feel free to do that too. Thank you. So does the schools check notice close contact students? Not really, no. Unfortunately, you know, and things, we're in this like weird phase right now where in the beginning we were doing close contact, and actually it was the district that was doing a lot of the close contact work, but we're not really doing that anymore. And like the guidelines don't, I was in a principal's meeting yesterday saying like we need to change what we put out and like what, you know, our language and like what's expected. So you know, yeah, we don't really quite do that anymore. Can ask teachers to wear masks. I mean, I can suggest to the teachers to wear masks, and I certainly will, and most of them do, but I can't require it because it's not required anymore. So, I mean, that's a state law. Like, that's what the state said. It's not required anymore. So I can't, I can't do that. Will kids pay for lunches next year? Bruce, that is a very good question that I do not have the answer for. Because this, like right now, our free lunch program is, the state had said that they are providing lunches. The state has not said that they're going to continue to do that for next year. I think we're hoping that they will. So if you want to send an email to your state senator, your state representative saying, hey, please keep this up, that could be helpful. Certainly that's something parents can do to but that's where that money came from, where the state was providing that. So hopefully they still do that because it has been really great, but I do not have an answer yet on will we pay for lunches next year. If a student has an AP test, they just tell the other teachers the day before that they must have class for the AP. They don't even have to tell the teachers. We tell the attendance office. We know who's taking the AP. So we don't like pre-block them out for excuse because they have to actually show up for the AP. But what we do is all the kids that are testing, we turn that into the attendance office and then they're excused from their classes. If they want to tell their teachers like, hey, I have an AP test tomorrow, that's courtesy, great. They're not required to. We'll excuse their attendance.
Can I say something? Hi, this is Amy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a message from the school Monday and yesterday because my kids was in the AP test. So I tried to call the attendance office, but wasn't able to get hold of them, and I emailed them. So my kid will be in AP exam today, tomorrow. So I don't know if I will receive the same message. What should I do? I just
Ignore
emailed to Miss Ramirez, but she didn't
just ignore that.
respond. So
I know. So the way the system is, because those calls go out at like certain points during the day. And if they're behind in catching up with coding the kids for the AP test, those calls may go out. I just ignore it. Don't worry. We're going to catch up with the attendance. Don't worry. So just ignore the call, please. Will school provide free SAT tests next year? It's not actually provided by the school. It's provided by the school district. And I believe that is the plan to continue with that. I have not heard any differently. So I guess my hesitation is because I don't make that decision. The district does, but I think I'm pretty confident that they would still do that. The kid tests positive after 5 days. Can they come back anytime? When they are negative, if they stay home 10 days and still test positive, can they come back to school? All right, so how it works is, so say a student, say they took a test today. Today is May 4th. We would say that you could come back to school on May 14th, because that's 10 days out. On the 5th day, which is 4, 1, 2, 3. So in this particular example, I'm giving you the 5th day is Sunday. So on Monday, they could come in and they could take a rapid test with us. So to come back after 5 days, they do actually have to test with us. So you just come up to the office, say that you want to take a rapid test that you're trying to return. We give it to you. We do them every day. It's fine. If they're positive, then we let them come back to school. If they're, or no, sorry, opposite. Woo. If they're negative when they take the rapid test, they get to go back to school that day. If they're still positive, then they have to do the full 10 days. So they could come back on the 14th, which again, in my example, that's a Saturday. So that doesn't really work. So they would come back on the 16th. And they don't have to test negative at that point. They've just done their full day, 10-day quarantine, and then we let them come back. Hopefully that makes sense. did they test on the 5th day? If they tested on the 5th day, like we don't keep testing them. If they test on the 5th day, our policy is they just have to stay out the full 10 days. So, but if they hadn't tested and they're testing then, so honestly, you might want to, I know it was more difficult when we were going through this in January. It was more difficult because it was really hard to find rapid tests in January. If you guys remember, it was really hard to get in for testing. There's a lot of rapid tests are a lot easier to get now, and you can get them for free. So it may be that you want to test them at home first before you come in and have them test here, because if they test positive here, we're just going to say you have to come back on the 10th day. I don't know the answer about the pre-SAT for 9th grade. I don't know. And I don't know, you know, for this year, if it was the belief that because they were worried about, I don't know. I gotta be honest, I'm not a big fan of the pre-SAT for 9th graders. I'm not a fan of the SAT, just to be completely blunt. CSUs and the UCs are phasing it out. A lot of colleges are phasing it out. I think if I, you know, got my like predict the future, and of course, watch me be totally wrong, I feel like that's going to like over the next several years be phased out. So I don't know. And I don't know the answer to the PSAT. I have not heard anything from the district on that. Usually that's stuff that right now everybody's wrapped up and finishing this school year. A lot of those decisions are made during the summer. And so at the start of next year is when I would have answers to those questions. Yes, is there a timeline for each club for the election? It depends on the club. Yes, each club has a constitution that outlines that. And so it depends on the club. I understand about the PSAT and the merit scholarship. Yeah, the district never used to offer the PSAT. Kids had to do it on their own on the Saturday. And so that's always still an option if the district doesn't offer it as like during the school day, that kids can take the PSAT on a Saturday. That certainly wouldn't go away. But like I said, right now, like they're just trying to like finish up the school year. A lot of the stuff is decided over the summer. And then when we come back in August is when I would have hopefully more firm answers about all of that. I've heard about a school award for over 150 hours of volunteering. That is, there's no school award for that. No, we don't have a school award for volunteering. We don't. One of my teachers told them they'll be out for a week. Should a teacher tell the students that they've got COVID so the students can be more cautious? You know, the teachers, they are protected by HIPAA. They don't have to disclose, you know, their private medical stuff. Some teachers may choose to, but they don't have to, and I can't require them to. So, but I would say, you know, honestly, Amy, in answer to your questions, so students could be more cautious. I would say, you know, just look like right now in Santa Clara County, there is a wave going on. Like, be cautious. Like, you know, there's plenty of places that can be exposed to COVID right now, and like right now, it's to, you know, it's really important to be cautious. It's important to be cautious always, but you know, right now when there's a wave going on, yes, we all should be cautious. Is it possible to get a work permit during the summer? Yes, we are open during the summer. We do work permits during the summer. Our summer hours are slightly different. Like the office isn't open as long as it is during the school year. I think typically our office is open from 8:30 to 3:30. So we open a little bit later and we close a little bit earlier in the summer, but we are open So, and we may have the office closed to the public on Fridays. That's usually what we do. But yes, in answer to your question, you can get a work permit. The Presidential Service Awards, I don't know if we do that one. I don't think that's one that we give away at Omni, but I can check with our head counselor. If we don't come back to school until the day they test negative at home, can we come back? Yes, yes, yes. If you feel like they're going to be testing negative, like they test negative at home and like you're like, okay, they're going to be good. Yes, they can come back. Yes, I can explain a little bit more about the AP boot camp. So this is designed, the idea was for kids that are new to AP classes, though we're not holding like a firm line on that. Like if they've taken AP this year, if they want to try the AP boot camp to get stronger, we're not going to say no, it's fine. But really it's designed for students that are new and like what sort of skills do they need in all AP classes, you know, regardless of curriculum, because like even in like your math AP classes, there's writing and things that they have to do. So it's going to focus on a lot of reading and writing skills that, you know, kind of like coming up, like how do you do close reading of sources and like things like that. And then also there's going to be some focus on time management and how do you balance the workload so that you don't get super stressed out and you don't have to stay up all night and that you can handle it pretty well. So that's the idea of it. Ms. Liu and Ms. Neethling are going to run it, who are two of our AP teachers. They are great teachers. They're awesome. And so kids do not get any sort of grade for this. They don't get any sort of credits. It's completely voluntary. And the idea is, and the benefit is, the hope is that you would then do better in your AP classes next year because you get this kind of like prep work about like, these are some skills that are going to help you in the AP. We're running it the week of, they tell you, the week of June 13th and June 20th. And it's just 2 hours a day. It's from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So AP boot camp, we're aiming it towards first time AP test takers, but it does not, if we're not going to be like, no, you already took an AP class, you can't come in. No, it'll be fine. So may the 4th be with you too. Is there a seat limit for the AP boot camp? We're like looking at probably about like 65 kids. I mean, right now I think there's 20 signups, so there's still room. So I'm not necessarily worried about it. You know, we'll see, like maybe like I'm saying this and all of a sudden I'll have 100 signups, but then I think we'll just look at having it in bigger spaces. And if a kid misses one day, that's fine. Because they're not getting any sort of grade or credits for it. So if they need to miss one day, that's fine. The last day to join, you can still join. It's pretty much, I'm going to leave it open until it fills up. So when we decide like, okay, that's our cutoff, but we're not there yet. And it is at school in person, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. The middle 2 weeks of June. So June 13th through June 24th. I will say that the school board has to vote on this, but Juneteenth is a holiday, and because that's falling over a weekend. I'm thinking we're going to observe it on June 17th, which is a Friday, so that probably we won't have it that day. Okay. So if you have further questions about that, email me. I'm going to put some more out about it in my newsletter this coming week. But I think it's I'm excited about the AP Bootcamp. It's kind of, we'll see, this was something that we've been talking about that we'd like to do. So this is the first year we're doing it. So we're experimenting a little bit. But hopefully it's beneficial and that it's something that we can build on. I am going to check out those tomato planters. Thank you. The graduation ceremony is on the football field on June 1st, 6 p.m. football field. Okay. All right. Thank you guys. I'll see you next week. Okay. Bye.